I found out my random deployment assignment was punishment for rejecting my CO's advances. I was a specialist with the 82nd Airborne at Fort Bragg, working in supply operations. My company commander was Captain Stevens, a guy who'd been in for about 8 years and thought he was God's gift to the Army. It started small. Compliments about my uniform that lasted too long. Comments about how I should come to his office after hours to discuss my career. I brushed it off at first, thought maybe I was reading too much into it. Then one Friday night, he texted my personal phone asking if I wanted to grab drinks off base. I didn't even know he had my number. I made up an excuse about visiting family. The next week, he called me into his office alone. Started talking about how female soldiers need mentors to advance in their careers. How he could help me make sergeant ahead of my peers if I was willing to be flexible. Flexible about what, sir? I asked. He smiled and closed his office door. You know what I mean, Ashley. We could help each other out. I reported it immediately to the Equal Opportunity Office. Filed a formal complaint with dates, text messages, everything documented. They launched an investigation. Captain Stevens acted like nothing happened. Still gave me orders. Still treated me professionally in front of others. I thought maybe the system was actually working. 2 months later, deployment orders came down. Our brigade was sending a small team to Kuwait for 6 months. 12 soldiers total out of a company of 120. I got selected. So did 11 other people, all specialists and below. Every single one of us had either filed EO complaints or been witnesses in someone else's case against command. Random selection based on operational needs, the first sergeant announced. But everyone in that room knew what it really was. Kuwait wasn't a combat zone, but it was isolated, hot, boring. We'd be running supply operations at a tiny base in the middle of nowhere while everyone else stayed at Bragg with their families. I went to the EO office. This is retaliation. He's punishing me for the complaint, the investigator sighed. We can't prove that. Deployment orders come from brigade level. Your commander doesn't have direct control over who gets selected, but he inputs the recommendations, I said. He decides who's mission ready for deployment tasking. Without proof he manipulated the process, there's nothing we can do. You're a soldier. Sometimes you get bad assignments. I deployed to Kuwait in July. 6 months of running a warehouse in 115-degree heat, living in a tent with 7 other people, no privacy, no real mission besides counting supplies and processing paperwork. But here's what Captain Stevens didn't count on. All 12 of us on that deployment had been screwed over by command. We started comparing stories. Turns out he'd pulled this kind of thing before, and other officers had covered for him. We spent 6 months building an airtight case, collected statements, compared timelines, found patterns going back 3 years. Every female soldier who rejected him ended up with terrible assignments or bad performance reviews. Every guy who witnessed something and spoke up got punished somehow. We sent everything to the Inspector General, copied the brigade commander, and sent a package to our congressional representative for good measure. Captain Stevens got relieved of command 2 weeks before we came home. Army CID launched a formal investigation. Turns out there were 5 other women he'd harassed. They'd just been too scared to come forward. He got court-martialed 6 months later, lost his rank, pension, everything. Ended up with a felony conviction on his record. I made sergeant right on schedule when I got back from Kuwait. Stayed in another 4 years, got out honorably as a staff sergeant. That deployment was supposed to break me. Instead, it gave me time to build the case that ended his career.